Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today, I first heard on a wonderful summit hosted by a previous guest, Dr. Judy Brangham. It was called the Reclaim Your Health Summit, and I knew I wanted to interview her. Her name is Dr. Tinka Barnes, and please welcome her to the show. It's so nice to meet you.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to meet you and your lovely audience. I want to say thank you for having me come on. And the Reclaim Your Health Summit was a wonderful event. I was so thankful for Dr. Judy inviting me to come on that one because it definitely is a benefit to be able to continue to share something I'm very passionate about with other individuals in the plant-based community.
Right. Well, it's funny because she just had the cream of the crop on that summit. And I really wanted every single speaker that she had to be on the show. And you were one of them. First of all, I just love your name. It makes me think of Disneyland. Tinkerbell.
Yeah, that's actually my mom. When she was giving birth to me, I guess they gave her some medicines that made her nice and happy and a little bit lethargic. And when they came to ask what my name was, they asked her when she was still kind of under the influence of the medication. And so she left out a letter. It was supposed to be Tanika, and it wound up being Tinka, and they never changed it. So I don't mind. I know it does sound like to a lot of my patients, they're like, is that your real name? And I'm like, yes, that's the long and the short of it all together.
I think I really like it. I like it a lot. So that's a very cool story. Before we find out about what you do with your patients, helping them transition to a healthy lifestyle, I'd like to hear about yours. Who are you? When did you adopt a plant-based diet? Where do you live? Where do you practice?
So I am originally from Los Angeles, California, actually. I was born in Compton, and we lived all over Southern California. So when we were growing up, we moved to North Hollywood, Watts. We lived in San Bernardino, then moved to the Valley. And I actually graduated from high school at Birmingham High School, right off of Van Nuys and Balboa over there.
I'm from Sherman Oaks. I know exactly where you're talking about.
Yeah, I thought I heard something about Sherman Oaks in one of the interviews you did with Johnny Carson. So yeah, I was going to talk about how, in California, growing up in the late 80s and the 90s, everything was about your image, like how you looked, how you came across to people. You were either trying to be a star or you were a star. And so the way people carried themselves was very much focused on the outer appearance. It was the 90210 era and the Saved by the Bell. And I remember at Sherman Oaks Galleria, in particular, when I went to Sherman Oaks Galleria, I ran into one of the stars from 90210. And it was the lady was actually much older than what she was playing. And she was a young Jewish lady. Oh, I can't remember her name. And she had curly hair on 90210. And I ran into her. And I think the man that was on the show was actually her real life husband. And so that's just an example of, back in the day in Sherman Oaks, the imagery that you saw that was on the pages of the magazine, you actually saw in person. So there was a big push for people to try and stay healthy and look healthy. And I got introduced to that kind of attitude and those viewpoints about looking a certain way growing up in Southern California. And then my dad also is a very big juicer. He's had me juicing carrots and spinach since I was a little girl. So he was my first introduction to trying and stick with a plant-based lifestyle. And then I went on to go to medical school in Kansas City and met my husband in Jackson, Mississippi. So I've lived kind of all over the place, and I'm just been thankful to run into some awesome people along the way. And my whole food plant-based journey led me to thinking about the why, the what, and the how of transitioning into a whole food plant-based diet. And I think the why is the most important part for everyone. When you're trying to figure out how do you make this work, the first thing you have to do is figure out why. Why do you want to go into a whole food plant-based diet lifestyle? Because it may not be something that everyone feels is for them. And if they don't really have a good why, they may not be able to stick with this particular style of eating and as well as living, because it is a lifestyle for sure.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Without the why, the how almost doesn't matter.
Right. So when I talk to my patients or clients and they come in and they're like, what is like some benefits of being on a whole food plant-based diet? When I did my journey, it was actually in 2015. We moved to Charlotte, and it was a transitional period of my life. I was leaving a city where I had given birth to 3 of my kids. So I have 4 sons, and my oldest is 20. My youngest is just turned 10. And it was a time to leave. It was a time to go. It was a time for us to transition. And we came to this city here, the beautiful Queen City of Charlotte, North Carolina. We had no relatives. We had no friends here. I was coming to work at a fairly qualified health center, which I don't know if you're familiar with those. Those are centers that tend to cater more towards individuals who are that don't have insurance, that have Medicaid, are kind of falling through the gaps because of lack of coverage and medical coverage. And so I've been working at those types of clinics since I finished up residency about 17 years ago. So it's been a while. And when I transitioned here, I worked at one where, a lot of my patients, were very complex patients. So it meant for a lot of long hours trying to figure out their medications, their dosages, what can they afford? If they don't have insurance, they may not be able to afford much. So there's a lot of gathering information and coordination of care. And so I was working long days, long hours, and I didn't have a lot of that quiet space. And so I got down. I got in this funky kind of mood. My mood was sucky. And my friend called me and was asking me about some things I was, doing. And I told her, I just don't feel good. I feel like I'm too big and my mood sucks. And she was like, oh, well, why don't you do a detox? Why don't you, change your diet up a little bit? I was like, well, why not? And I wind up doing it for a month. At the end of the month, I know somebody else calls themselves an accidental vegan, but I definitely was an accidental vegan because that was not my goal. And at the end of my detox month, I tried to eat some chicken and a praline cookie, and immediately came up. And I was shocked. Like, we were sitting at it was a buffet. It was a seafood buffet in Myrtle Beach. And Myrtle Beach is like the coastal city here in the Carolinas. And I was at a place that we had gone to before, and I was enjoying the food the first time, but the second time, just the smell of the fish totally turned me off. I was just really not into that smell. And then when I tried to eat it, that was the icing on the cake. I was like, okay, so this is what it is. I'm definitely a vegan now. I cannot tolerate any of this fish or chicken or even the sugar. So my why was my funky mood. And that's what pushed me to do something a little bit more than what I had normally wanted to do, which was just leave meat out here and there, but still be able to dabble in it a little bit. But after I did my cleansing for that month, I didn't want to go back to it at all. So everybody's why may be a little different. Some people's why to get into whole food, plant-based nutrition may be more along the lines of problems with a health scare. So if they may have had, say for instance, I had a patient that they had woken up one day and they couldn't breathe. And she was morbidly obese. And this is one of my first introductions to patients during my residency. And she said she couldn't breathe, and her daughter was there and noticed. And the daughter was young, was only like 8 years old, and noticed that she couldn't breathe, and she had to call 911 on her mom. And when she came in to see us, and I was at a obesity clinic at that time, she said that was it for me. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I couldn't imagine not being able to be here to take care of my daughter, and for her to see me like that. That was just an awakening for her, that there was something going on with her weight, that there was an issue that needed to be addressed, and that she wanted to tackle it head on. So that was her why, was a major health scare. And other people's why may be environmental. So, and maybe that you're like, I am not continuing to kill my planet by, using meat-based and animal sources of food, because we know that when you use and eat and consume meat, these animals have to grow somewhere. And it amazed me when I took a recent course on whole food plant-based nutrition to get certified for whole food plant-based nutrition. And one of the things they mentioned was the policies, the agricultural policies. And we have policies in place that has set aside over 2/3 of our land to make produce and feed for livestock, but only about 8% of the land is for produce and vegetables for human consumption. I was floored by that. I just thought that seems so backwards when we're supposed to be focused on making sure that we are giving individuals I'm thinking in the medical field, we want to give them the nutrition that they need. But if we don't even have the resources from an agricultural standpoint set aside to do that, then how do we make sure that we meet some of these federal government guidelines for the recommended amount of fresh fruits and vegetables in our diet? So that could be some individuals' why as to trying to make a transition. So I think that when someone is interested in whole food plant-based nutrition, if they want to be successful, you definitely want to start off with a good, solid, clear, why do I want to do this? Because that's going to help you be able to figure out the what and the who of making the transition. And I'm very thankful that, so far, my why, it has worked out very well, and my mood is much better. I noticed when I first did the cleanse, my skin, that was like within 2 weeks, I noticed my skin was clearer. And then I just didn't feel that heaviness on me like I did initially. The heaviness was off. So there's definitely studies that show, there's a study called the GEICO study in 2015 in one of the American Journal of Health Promotions periodical, which the conclusion of that study basically showed that with dietary intervention, with plant-based programs, they were able to increase productivity and decrease depression and anxiety. I said, that's a win-win. It's like the company gets increased productivity, and then your staff are able to have a decrease in their depression and anxiety just by changing up their diet and introducing plant-based programming. So I was very, very enthused to read that particular article about how important it is to think about depression, think about your workplace, and to think about how plant-based nutrition can improve all of those things. So that's when I talk about that, talk about the why.
Yeah, I've heard other doctors say you need a why that makes you cry, but Tiffany, who's watching live, says, well, how do you handle your patients who may not have a strong enough why in wanting to transition when you ask them?
I honestly feel that it is a conversation, and I can't give anyone the why. So if they don't have that push as to why they want to make the transition, we will have a discussion and a conversation about what's going on in their bodies right at that time. So say, for instance, if they have hypertension or diabetes, well, we didn't talk about the other part of it. Maybe they don't want to keep paying all that money for those expensive medications and they want to keep some of the money in their pockets, because at times when you have hypertension, diabetes, and you can have insurance in the beginning of it, right? But as your disease process may continue to progress and get worse, you may get to the point where you need medications that are not completely covered by your insurance policy. So instead of going in that direction, if you know there is a program or a lifestyle that you can adopt early on in the disease process that can help deter that, because we know that cardiovascular disease can be reversed with whole food plant-based nutrition. Scientists have shown it. They've shown the decrease in the atherosclerotic plaques in people's blood vessels by using whole food plant-based nutrition. So if we know it's possible, then I think that's one thing that may help to give a patient a increased ideal and enthusiasm about figuring out what their why may be, because maybe they'll start looking at their pocketbook and saying, I really want to keep this money for some other things that are more interesting and more erstwhile for me to use it for.
Yeah, it was interesting that when you tried those foods that you so loved before, your body didn't want them. And New Life is saying your body got a taste of the good life and refused to go back. That seems to be pretty common with people once they get used to the healthy food, that the older food doesn't have as much appeal.
Yes, and it's still the same now. So if I eat something that has milk in it or eggs, I'll get this very slimy taste in my mouth. And it's like, oh, okay, there was something in there that is not plant-based. And so I can't eat it. It'll make me nauseated. And I don't find that to be a problem. I find that it's kind of like a warning mechanism so that I stay on track with sticking with my dietary habits. But it is very interesting how our bodies have been designed to actually function optimally with plant-based nutrition, and not as well when we are eating foods that are ultra processed. So I was surprised myself at what my reaction was to what happened after I did that whole month of eating clean. It was great that I was able to do it, but I was very surprised at what happened after that.
Right. Jael says your skin looks so healthy. It does. You have any beauty secrets? Because your skin does look amazing.
Thank you. I want to say that I just drink a ton of water every day. I try. When I go to work, I'm much better. I think being on a regimen really helps you when you're working and you're doing something on a regular basis. It does help you to stay focused. I do this kind of cleansing treatment that I got from a friend. So I don't buy a lot of products that are mass produced. I like to buy food as well as, my skin cleansers from local entrepreneurs who have been doing this for years. And so the one I get is from, she's actually a PhD down in Greensboro, North Carolina. So she teaches on campus, and then as her side thing she has her own store that she makes beauty products. It's a Black-owned business, and she opened up not too long ago. I'm thinking it's about 4 or 5 years ago she opened up, and I love all of her products. She's got like this matcha green exfoliant, like detoxing tonic that you put on your face, and then after that, I do this Revive. It's a little expensive. It's like $30 for this one little bottle, but I use it for 6 months, so it lasts for a very long time. And that's basically it. I don't use any other products that I feel can be dehydrating to my skin. And a lot of these products that are out there have so many extra preservatives and things that you don't want, like fragrance. I'm like, what is fragrance? I mean, I see fragrance on every single bottle. It looks like when I go down the aisle at these stores, and I'm like, what is fragrance? Like, you can actually say or tell me it's Egyptian musk or it's, almond oil, but that's not what they're saying. They just say fragrance. And when you look it up, fragrance is on the list of carcinogenic chemicals. So if it's on all of these particular products we're using, our facial products, our hair products, our lotions, our detergents, all of this fragrance is building up in our systems, and these particular substances don't always just go away. And so I think that they can be part of the problem we're having right now with so much increase in cancer and increase in, irritable bowel syndrome and all these other medical conditions that we're having that we weren't having so much of before. And we can definitely see there's some link between eating meat and these products, but I think it's really an accumulation of the way we eat and then the way we live, the things we use on our bodies, the things we're taking in from pollution in the air. All those things accumulate to cause us to have a lot of these problems in our system that's just not going away. And one of the things that I get from patients when they come in, when we're talking about whole food plant-based nutrition, is what is whole food plant-based nutrition? And they have that question because I think there's so many different diet styles that are out there that it can be confusing. And once you start going down that road of figuring out how do I eat healthier, then they start throwing all these terminologies at you. I think it can sometimes dissuade people from trying it. I was talking to my 20-year-old son last night, and I was asking, how do you, like this particular dietary style? He was like, don't put labels on it, Mom. When you start putting labels on it, I don't want to do it. I said, what? That sounds like a relationship. So I guess we can look at it in that way, that when we develop a new dietary and lifestyle, we are developing a new relationship. And when you put a label on it, it may make it seem like, whoa, this is official. This is heavy. And it's okay. It's okay to develop a new relationship with your diet, particularly if it's going to make you healthier.
Absolutely. So, your friend that makes the skincare, is it all 100% vegan?
Majority of them are. The ones that I get are. So she does have multiple lines and products, but not all of it's vegan. So her oils are vegan. So the oils I get, the one for my face is vegan, and the matcha green tea, but some of her soaps are not. But I don't buy a lot of her soaps, but they smell great. I'll get them from my husband because he's not vegan. So I am living in a blended household.
Oh yeah, talk about that. Blended. How blended is it? Because you're living with 5 guys. So
yes, that is something else. It has been like the boy tribe over here. My husband is a traditional meat and potatoes guy from Midwest Missouri and Kansas City. And his mom and his parents, they were not plant-based. They believed in, soul food cooking. Every Sunday after church, you come home to Big Mama's house and you do the collard greens and the mac and cheese and the fried chicken and the cornbread and, the banana pudding. So like the whole gamut, peach cobbler. So with him,
That all plant-based now. Have you ever heard of the Scott family from Pine Grove, Kentucky? They just did a banana pudding on the show, all plant-based, and barbecue ribs, all plant-based, and greens, all plant-based.
I need to see that barbecue ribs plant-based. Now, if I can get my husband to try it, I think the other boys will buy into it. My two middle sons, though, are pretty much plant-based. They do not like the meat substitutes. There's something about the taste with the meat substitutes. They're like, nah, Mom, if you're going to give me something, just don't put that stuff in it. I'll eat it without it. So I've learned to not waste my money on those things with them because they're not going to eat, those particular kind of patties. So I will cook things and I'll do the base of it with all my vegetables. And I'll add in my seasoning and make it nice and good. And then I'll use the air fryer for the boys. So a lot of times they're perfectly fine with that. If I put like a chicken breast in the air fryer for them because they want something like that with their dinner. And then I'm doing like a mushroom, bell peppers and onions compote in my skillet. And I put that over my bed of kale. I'll turn around and look, and then the skillet's empty. And I'm like, well, what happened to the rest of my little stir fry? And they scooped it up and put it in their plate. They're like, this is good. I was like, you didn't need the chicken then. So it's a transition, and they're athletes. And so with children, they tend to need a little bit more protein than adults do. And if they are doing athletic sports and they're exercising, my sons are exercising twice a day. I think part of that is the coronavirus and the fact that they're inside a lot and they want to do something. There's a lot of kinetic energy there. They want to move, they want to get around. And so they're burning a lot of calories. And if they want to eat meat, I don't stop them. I definitely make sure that I have those plant-based options there for them, and they will do it themselves. I think you just live the lifestyle, and with children, they emulate what they see. So they'll be like, Mom, this is my plant-based week. I'm not eating any meat, no dairy. I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm like, okay, that's good. If I show them how to do it the appropriate way, because they know what plant-based is, they know that it's nutritious, they know that it optimizes their health when they eat that way. If they know that plant-based is something that comes from plants and not from animals, and they know when it's whole foods, it's close to what it was when it came off of the tree or when you plucked it out of the ground. So if they are able to understand that, and they are able to utilize a wide variety of fruits and vegetables and seeds and nuts and grains, then I feel like I've done a good job, trying to teach them and guide them in the direction they need to go once they get out the house and they start doing their own thing. So I think my kids have a fairly good handlehold on what it is, and we're still working on making sure they balance it right, because sometimes they can go overboard with certain things.
You mentioned they were athletes. Have they seen the movie The Game Changers?
That's a great question, and it's perfect timing because they saw that at the beginning of the pandemic. And I saw it after, I can't remember, somebody mentioned it to me. And I can't remember who mentioned that documentary. And I had seen Forks Over Knives, and I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at Game Changers. I watched it. The scope and the view that it came from was that of a very male-centric, athletic point of view. And I was like, this is awesome. This is perfect. So I did show it to them. And after they saw that, they were like, you can be a well-conditioned, very strong athlete and not eat meat. And then I think the Houston, the Houston football players, was it the Texans? No, not the Texans, they're in Houston. Yeah, Texans. I think it's the Texans. They have like a multiple amount of athletes that are plant-based. And I remember seeing one of the scenes where they were sitting down and they were eating a plant-based meal. And they all look very healthy. They noticed that when they ate that way, they had less problems with injury and improvement in their injury and their recovery time. So they weren't out as much. So I think that's the key thing for them, because injuries happen even in high school. My two middle ones are in high school. My oldest is just in his sophomore year in college. And then I have a 10-year-old that's a rising fifth grader in elementary school. And so they all play sports. They've all played football, except for the youngest one. I don't want him to play, but Dad does. They play football, they do track and field. So they're very, very much moving around and, trying to be as active as possible. So I want to make sure that they have the appropriate energy stores to do that with. And so we talk a lot about their diet. We talk a lot about drinking plenty of water. They don't do any of the energy drinks. I don't let them do a lot of the energy drinks or any of them actually, because they don't need all that caffeine in their systems and all those additives and preservatives. So when they're really on their game, they stay away from all of that. They may do a protein shake. So there is some protein powders, vegan protein powders that I do like. And with my sons who are in the middle and they're doing a lot of athletic sports, I will go ahead and let them do the vegan protein powders along with their regular meals. So just basically trying to make sure they have a well-rounded, colorful plate of food, and that they're eating throughout all of the different types of fruits and vegetables, seeds and nuts that they can. That's what really helps them to, I think, try and stay as healthy as possible. Calcium is another thing with kids. They don't do any milk. And even before we were plant-based, milk was an issue in our household. You know, as your other guests may have talked about before, lactose intolerances can be a big problem for a lot of individuals. And in our household, we definitely had some issues with lactose intolerance. So when they were younger, they never adopted a taste and a palate for milk. We do almond milk and soy milk, some oat milk, not a lot. I don't think they like the taste of it as much, but we also try and incorporate a lot of the plant-based sources of calcium-rich foods like the figs. They love fig Newtons. That's why if you have a recipe for fig Newtons that someone's shown you, I would love to see that one, because the fig Newtons is something that they love to have. So I'm
going to get you a fig Newton and a rib recipe. And I'm going to recommend that your boys read this New York Times bestseller, because it's amazing. And it talks about all the Olympic athletes that are on a plant-fueled diet.
The plant-based athlete. Okay, yep. Awesome. Okay, thank you. Definitely send that to me. My husband's a writer. As you can see back in the back, I'm in his office. And this is usually where he sits to do his Zooms and interviews and what have you. So they read, and we would love for them to read more. So we take all books and we introduce them to them, and hopefully they take to it and they enjoy it. But yeah.
Once again, people are saying, what is the name of your friend's company for skincare?
Oh, it's called Black Belt Soap.
Black Belt Soap. And does she it's an online business?
Yes, she's online. She ships everywhere. She also has a storefront in Greensboro. So if you're in the Tri-City area, Winston-Salem, Raleigh, those kind of places, you can definitely drive on up if you want to take a little trip to Greensboro. If you're not, then you just look on the internet, Black Belt Soap. She has her website, and she also has Instagram as well as Facebook.
I pulled up something called Black Belt Body Care. Is that the same or different?
I know it's called Black Belt Soap. It's
one of the products is Black Belt Soap, and it says, train hard, stay clean, stay healthy, be happy.
That doesn't sound like her.
Okay, I'll keep looking. All right. Yeah. I don't want to give the people the wrong product.
I know. I think her little emblem or logo, I think it's like a bee with a circle around it, and it's black and white. So if you see that one, that's her.
Here it is. Okay, I think I had the wrong company because this did not look right. Black Belt Soap Company. Okay, found it. Now I'll post a link to it so people can check that out. Yeah, this looks a lot more like what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Lavender whipped shea body butter, Egyptian musk. Yeah, that sounds more like what you. Yeah. All right. Well, here's a question from Dina, who's watching live. Can you give a recommendation for building bone density with food for a person that is whole food plant-based and very active already? What else can a person do to further boost bone density?
How old is she? Or did she put her age?
She didn't, but Dina, you're like 50, right? I don't know. But I'll ask her to, I'm sure she's watching and she can put it back up, but that would be fantastic. And let's see.
So I think I did my disclaimer. No, I didn't do my disclaimer at the beginning. Forgive me, because we were supposed to do this anytime we talk. But the thoughts, views, and opinions I have here are solely my own and not necessarily those of Novant Health. And if you definitely want to make sure you're getting your information that's appropriate for you individually, make sure you check in with your primary care doctor, because the information I'm giving here does not constitute a doctor-patient relationship, and it doesn't take the place of anything that your doctor would tell you. But on top of that, let's say that bone density has a big connection with activity. Movement is very important. So in my elderly patients, when they have kind of transitioned to being a little more indoors and not being as active, the concern is osteopenia and osteoporosis. Osteopenia is when you have thinning of your bones. Osteoporosis is when the bones have gotten so thin that you're at increased risk of having fractures, and then you have to start taking treatment for it. So with the patients that are more sedentary, they're not moving as much, they have an increased risk of osteopenia and osteoporosis. If you're not taking in and getting enough vitamin D and calcium, that's another thing that may make sure that your bones are not getting dense enough. When you want to have dense bones, you want to make sure you're moving and doing weight-bearing activity. So if you get on a bike, so I'm looking at over to the side because we have this lovely bike over here that really terrorizes me sometimes because it's the one that you use with your arms and then you pedal at the same time. I think it's torture, but it definitely works all parts of your body. And it's great for doing that. But when you're thinking about bone density, you need to put feet to pavement and move. You need that weight-bearing activity to really increase your bone density because you have a very intricate process that's going on inside of your bones. The osteoclasts and the osteoblasts, they're breaking down and building up your bones. And they do that as you continue to move and bear weight. So making sure also that you're getting vitamin D in. And I just did a talk about vitamin D last week, actually, on one of the local news stations. And vitamin D mostly comes from the sun. So if you are inside a lot, you may not be getting enough vitamin D. And I've noticed with a lot of our patients during this time of being inside more because of COVID-19, there's a little increase in the amount of individuals I'm seeing come back with low vitamin D levels. So making sure that you're getting outside, doing your yard work, and speaking of going outside, I did want us to take a little field trip to my garden in the backyard because I have some things I want to show you there. I think we have time. Yes,
absolutely. And she's 59, by the way, almost 60. And
the
vitamin D can be low because she lives in Canada, she says.
Yes, because vitamin D has a lot to do with your latitude, like where you're staying at, where you're living. That's something that may affect your vitamin D levels. If you are someone who is also not moving around a lot, as you can see, I'm walking through my house. I have one of my sons who's going to help me here.
Is he one of the middle sons or the older or the young?
Yes. This is the youngest.
The youngest.
Namdi. Let's see, he may come on out. He may already be out here. Let's see. No, he's not. He's not out here yet. I'm going to grab him. Then we're going to come back out. But so we're going to take our field trip. But I wanted to just show you guys my garden outside. It is hot outside too. Very hot. Wait a minute, Namdi. But we're talking about the calcium and how much calcium you need to get into your system. The places where you get most of your calcium from. Hey, now, then you gonna take your hat off for everybody? This is my little helper.
Oh, he's adorable. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi. He helps out in the garden a lot. And so I like to utilize him as my harvester. So when it's time to harvest the fruit and vegetables that we have out there, he comes on out and helps us out with that. So I said, he can go ahead and be on the show today as we show everybody what we have in our garden.
That's so cool that you have a garden.
We actually started that last year. We did last year was our first time doing the garden because we were kind of cooped up inside and we needed some things that we do that allows us to get out in the sun and do something different than being in front of a screen because we were doing a lot of actions within front of the screen. The boys were going to school in front of the screen. And then I was doing a lot of my COVID updates. Last year, we did a lot of those COVID updates, COVID-19 updates. So I was just thankful to have some other actions and activities to do that was healthy, that would get me out of the house and keep me safe at the same time. And starting the garden was like a beautiful way of interacting with nature too. So you ready, Namdi? Okay, come on. Okay, we'll see how long we can stay outside.
How hot is it by you?
It's about 95 degrees. I know, California can get a little bit warmer. Okay.
I've got you beat. We're 102 today.
Oh my goodness. Here, Hmm? Okay. It's okay, baby. We're not going right there. So here we go. We are going to share with you one of our lovely things we got started together. And I'm going to put this down here. We're going to take a bite out of that later. And Namdi, tell him what grade are you in?
Fourth.
Fourth grade. So he's a rising
Fifth grade.
fifth grader. What do you have in your hand? Okay.
A sweet potato.
It's live. Good. Yes, it's a sweet potato. It's a sweet potato slip. Let's show them what it is.
It looks weird.
It does look weird, but those little things right there are going to give us a lot of sweet potatoes. So I never knew what a sweet potato slip was, everybody. I learned what this was last year when I was going to the farmer's market, and I was like, I really want to grow sweet potatoes. And there was a gentleman there who said, you know, you really grow sweet potatoes from the slips. That's the best way to grow your sweet potatoes. I said, oh, okay, what's a slip? Like, that's what I put underneath my skirt. So he said, if you get one of the sweet potatoes from the supermarket and you let it sit out a little bit, you should see some of these stems starting to grow on it. And when you see those stems growing, then that's what you call a slip. And you take that and you put it in the ground and it grows. So I said, okay, I don't have a green thumb. We're going to try this. And sure enough, last year we had a mother load of sweet potatoes. So I was very excited about that. And this year we're doing something a little different. So Namdi, do you mind? I'm going to turn it this way if that's okay. Or do you want me to keep it sideways?
It's okay for a little bit to keep it that way.
Okay. Let's go ahead and turn it around. All right. Here we go. I'll take this. So this is our the pots didn't go too well. I did not do so great with the pots, but it was something that I tried this year that I didn't do yet last year. So I wanted to at least give it a chance and see if it works for us. But we have these lovely big tall bushes here. Okra. You can see the okra, Chef AJ?
That is really cool.
Yes. So we got a couple of plants of okra. Also have some cucumber here. So we're going to harvest a couple of these cucumbers and zucchinis with you guys. Look at that bad boy.
It looks
That's incredible.
Yeah. So that's one cucumber. We got, oh, it's okay. Just leave that. You know, live TV, we got bugs. Bugs are good. Bugs to help your plants. You can stay right there, baby. Bugs help your plants grow, except for when they're eating your plants all up. Oh, Jesus.
Well, at least the bugs are vegan, right?
That is a toad. Yes, they are. Oh, lovely. Don't show him the frog. Let him keep doing his little thing, hopping away. Huh? This is another cucumber. Wow. Yeah, you see that one? Awesome.
It looks really
spongy.
spongy.
And it's so cool that you grow your own produce.
Another cucumber. Goodness gracious, you got lots of them, huh? And then we have our zucchini. Lovely. And we have watermelon. So you see these here. These are called sugar babies. Sugar babies. And you may see the marigolds we have here. You see the flowers. I learned, and a lovely bee.
A bee.
Play. The flowers, the marigolds, were something that I added this year because there was a problem I had the year before when I was trying to get my plants to grow. They were eating all of my zucchini leaves. And I was a little bit upset. So I'm like, oh, they're eating the zucchini leaves. Well, they said if you plant the marigolds, then that helps to give the bugs something to smell that makes them not want to come back. So it deters the bugs from getting on your leaves, the worms. So I did that this year, and I was very happy with the results. I don't have as many problems with the bugs and worms getting on my zucchini. And so, since we're talking about zucchini, why don't you come around this way now? And this, you see, we do have some. We have some bugs that got on it.
A little bit.
Let me back up some. And here we go with the zucchini. Can they see it, Chef AJ?
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I'm gonna get this one off. And one more. We're gonna So we have a few more on here, but this is how you harvest zucchini.
And it's completely organic.
Completely
GMO
organic.
free.
The only thing I used in this soil was organic soil and neem oil. Walk around that way. Don't show them the, yeah. You don't want to see that part.
Well, you're going to have either a nice salad or stir fry today for sure.
Okay, so this is our bountiful harvest from Dr. Barnes. And our zucchini bread. Okay, Namdi.
Wow, those are the sweet potatoes?
So Namdi is the sweet potatoes. This is actually the zucchini bread. Namdi, can you grab the cucumbers and the zucchini, please? This is the zucchini bread. So the zucchini bread is made from my zucchini from the garden. And I'm gonna let him come on in. And then I'll let him taste. So I actually have to make it two different ways. One I make with nuts and one I make without nuts because he has a nut allergy. And we found that out when he was 3. So sometimes that can cause some problems with some of the recipes I want to make, because I want to make things like the cashew butters and the cashew sauces. But if they have nut allergies, it kind of throws it off. And so I don't get to make some of those really sweet, delicious ones. But we still do some things with the sun butter and the sesame seeds. Yeah. Now you can come get your zucchini bread now. So just to show you, a lot of times people feel that zucchini doesn't belong inside of any real dish other than like maybe roasted, and that you don't bake with it, and that things that are made vegan can't possibly taste good. Now, do you want to go wash your hands? Go wash your hands.
Wow, you're a medical doctor, you're a gardener, you're a chef, you're a professional African dancer.
The dancing part. I was trying to see, should we go outside and dance, or maybe I should show them the garden? I'm like, it's too hot right now to dance. I don't want to get out there and start sweating and looking like I'm passing out. But yeah.
Do you actually perform African dance somewhere, or is it just something you do for exercise?
Yes, I do perform. The COVID-19 has kind of slowed things down a bit because the activities we usually do with West African dance are inside. We have done activities outside, but still they were having the decrease in the amount of individuals that can. He's got the thumbs up in the corner over here. Thank you, Namdi. Thank you for your help. That's how I pay my help.
Yeah, guys, Dr. Barnes is not 59. It's Dina who asked the question on green. So I mean, she may be, but I don't think so. So I'm guessing you're much, much younger. You don't look much over 35. So
yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you for that too.
You look
amazing. Gray hair is coming through, but it's distinguished. I'm gonna take it.
Well, Anne is saying, you can make cream sauces without nuts. You can make them with potatoes, with cauliflower, with beans. So I have lots of recipes because I don't eat nuts. I'm not allergic, but I don't eat them. And so there's lots of ways to get them creamy. Yeah, Dale says maybe she can come on a return visit and teach some African dance.
Yeah,
you have what do you call your business?
Veginar.
Veginar.
Yeah.
Like it's webinar, but vegan. I love it. It's like a smush. Yep.
So I started it right before COVID hit, and I had these grandiose plans of things I was going to do in person with my team, and we're going to be just kind of touring around the Carolinas and doing these Veginars. Of course, it kind of slowed down because of everything going on with COVID, but it just gives me opportunity to kind of shift it and make it more virtual. And so that's what I'm working on right now. I do have my web developers team. Actually, the website will be going live next week. So if you are interested in learning more about taking courses that are focused on helping individuals transition from the standard American diet to a more whole foods, plant-based diet, veganism, if you're interested in that, and that's something that really piques your interest and you want to see this maybe change or transform your health, change and transform your connections with individuals in your family that also may have some health issues as well, then Veginar is the spot to kind of gain a lot of that information and to really see how it works from an individual standpoint so that you can adopt it, because I feel that that most people need to have their why come from within. If they are not able to figure out and find their why and find that their purpose, then it's hard to stay on track with making that transition, because I can't give it to them. I can't say, oh, you have high blood pressure, you should definitely do this. And that's the only way they're going to stick with it. They will listen to me. The studies show that when doctors say, hey, stop smoking, it does help improve people's chances of stop smoking. But in order for people to really adopt the lifestyle and stick with it, it can't just be something that your doctor says, oh, you have to do. So, as a mother, I know that also from the standpoint that I can't just say, go and study this course and you're going to do great in high school, you're going to do great in college, and you'll get a great career. In order for them to adopt it, they have to understand that this is beneficial for me in the long run, and something that I think it develops in some people sooner and other people a little bit later. So some people are, a little bit, they need a little more information. You got to show them, how to make this happen. And that's what Veginar will do. It kind of show you how to make the transition and do it tasty, because no one wants grass. My kids say that, oh, mom, with plant-based, you're just eating grass. I'm like, no, I'm not eating grass. It's actually real tasty food. I was going to wash my hands and show you but yes, so the zucchini bread, nice and thick. It's spongy, it's soft. I don't want to eat it until I wash my hands. It's my last piece. I just made it this morning and it's almost gone. This is the last one. So
wow, maybe you can come back and do a cooking demo, a dancing and cooking demo at the same time. That would be amazing. Are your webinars going to be through Zoom? Is it like several webinars? Is it one? Is it a series of classes? How will that work?
I'm going to start with doing some blogs first, and then there is a teaching platform that I have found out more information about, and I'm still learning, called Kajabi. Uh-huh. And with that particular teaching platform, I have some people that I'm kind of, not partnering with, but in discussions with about how to get this particular course onto Kajabi, and then get Kajabi onto my Veginar platform. So I'm still in the beginning of getting everything started, but I am excited for what's to come and what I'll be able to do and help people with, because that's always been my passion when it comes to medicine, when it comes to health, is helping individuals to improve their health, decrease obesity, decrease cardiovascular disease, and increase movement, because movement is medicine. It's so important for us to move our bodies. If people are hurting, if they feel like they can't move their bodies because they have too much weight on themselves, then I want to be that piece of the puzzle that helps them to make that transition where they can move more. Whether it's, you can start off with just doing stuff in your seat, doing chair yoga or doing chair exercises. We have some elders that do West African dance still. They may not jump as high as other people going down the dance floor. And so it's really all in the subtle nuances of, the spinal cord and your core. That's where you get most of your strength from with dancing. And so everything's kind of linked together with exercise, with eating healthy. You keep your core tight. That's how you're able to stay in an activity mode for a longer period of time. Being able to, go biking and mountain climbing and all those things are really linked to your overall health status. So being able to go out into the garden, even. I have some patients who love gardening, and they do it, in order to not just get food from their garden, but also to improve their mental health. Just being out there and doing that activity is so important. And so it's a vital part of their life. So yeah, I enjoy my garden. Do you have a garden, Chef AJ?
I don't. It's really hot where I live in the desert. I do sprout though, but that's not really a garden. That's about the extent of my growing. Up until about a couple of years ago, I've always lived in an apartment. There was just no dirt or anything, but I'm very inspired by yours. We have a yard, but everything is desert landscaping. It's rocks. There's no dirt. It's all sand.
Yes. You're living in Sherman Oaks right now?
No, I moved about 2.5 years ago near Palm Springs.
Oh, Palm Springs. Yes.
Yeah.
I play the flute too. And
well, you are just like a Renaissance woman. 4 children. What do you have time? You do so many things.
I tell you, before the children, they called me the Energizer Bunny. I couldn't sit down. They thought I had ants in my pants, as the elders used to say. And so it was, I I thrive when I'm doing more than one thing. I noticed that. So in order to make it work for me, I have to have my hands in different pots, participating in multiple activities, dancing, doing things with my patients, having, my job that I do outside of work, my husband, working with him and helping out with his company that he has as a writer, with the children, obviously football, track, I tell you. But having a lifestyle that is whole food, plant-based focus, vegan focus, is something that helps me to keep that energy, because I don't feel like I had this energy before I transitioned my lifestyle over. So it's definitely something that allows me to feel like I can keep dancing at my age. And lady doesn't tell her age, right? Is that what we say?
only if you like to. I tell mine 61 because I've been vegan for 44 years, and I want people to know that this isn't really just
you look wonderful.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I think the diet plays a big role on how we age.
Yes, I'm 45. Yes.
But you look fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling we will have you back. You'll play the flute while doing an African dance and cooking the zucchini bread all at the same time.
That sounds like my father. He likes to do all of that. He plays the guitar, he plays the harmonica, and then he also sings. Like so I'm not sure if I can do the flute, but I would love to do the zucchini bread demonstration.
Yeah, let's do that, because people are begging for the recipe. I'd love to have you back because people love that.
This is a game changer. Yeah, if you feel like you can't convert, not so much convert, but if you feel like you have someone who doesn't think a vegan lifestyle is tasty or something that they can stick with, if you give them one of these zucchini bread squares. Yeah.
That's so cool. Do you have any extended family or friends or colleagues that you've been able to influence?
I am always trying to give my colleagues at work or my neighbors some of this zucchini bread. I'm like, do you guys want zucchini bread? And they're like, yes. From the first time they taste it, they're like, vegan? I'm like, they're like, I'm not sure about that. And then I bring it in and they taste it and they're like, oh my gosh. Or they take it home to their kids and they say, oh, my little girl, she just loved that vegan zucchini bread. Are you gonna make some more? And that's so it shows me that it's an inroad. It's the thing that kind of opens the door. And I think that it helps them understand that you can have food that is something that reminds you of things that you liked before, but at the same time still tastes good. And that is so important. So yes, I have converted some people to the ideal that veganism is not a dirty word. It's really a food revolution. And it's something that you can invite into your surroundings and share it with your family and friends, and not be the person, that they're trying to kick out the door because they don't like how it tastes.
If somebody were to live where you practice in North Carolina, could they see you as a doctor, or do you do any kind of online health coaching?
So the health coaching will be specifically through Veginar online. If they want to see me as a physician, I'm working at a clinic here in North Carolina, and they can find me online. If they go to my Instagram page, it's called The Vegan MD. And they can find me there. And I do post some links to different talks and things like that I'm doing. So right now the coaching has not started yet, but if they go to The Vegan MD online, they'll be able to know exactly when it starts and be able to tap into the website when it goes live. So I'm excited.
Yeah, you're just so inspiring and passionate about what you do. You mentioned you work with a lot of at-risk patients. When they come to see you, they probably don't know what they're in for.
No, I'm glad you said that. Yes, that is so true. And definitely in the beginning, I don't think they expect for you to talk to them about their diet as much. I think that doctors talking about eating healthy and taking time to prepare your food, because food prep is so important, and don't just leave it up to somebody at a restaurant to do. That's maybe not something that they're used to. So I think their eyes kind of open, like, wow, we're actually talking about what I can do to improve my health from this standpoint, and not just writing a script and here you go, and then come back in 3 months. The prescriptions are important when someone is out of control with their diabetes, out of control with hypertension. You may need some assistance with that, but if you can get it at the beginning when they're in that pre-diabetic range, when they're in that pre-hypertensive range, and start incorporating more whole food, plant-based nutrition, and then really give them the tools that they need to be successful, then that's a game changer. It's something that allows for them to possibly stay away from needing any medications at all. I've had some patients that I've talked to and coached down from high blood pressures and blood sugars, and they have been skyrocketing high. And then just by changing up their diet, eliminating all the salt, increasing the fluid, some of them, if it was alcohol, and they understood now that alcohol can increase your blood pressure. Alcohol is a direct toxin to your gut and can increase your risk of stomach cancer. Some of those things they didn't know. And so we talk about that. We talk about the things that they can do to try and curb certain habits that are not so good for them. And using a counselor is so key. I love my counselors. They are so needed, because in order to change a habit, you have to understand that you first have to get the tools in order to be able to change the habit. It doesn't always happen for everyone that they can quit things cold turkey, whether it's smoking or food addictions or any of those things. You need help sometimes. And so I use my counselors, I use my registered dietitian. I believe in the team approach, because that's how you get things done. And just like what you're doing here, which is so awesome for everyone, that you invite people into your community. You invite us to come in and share what we're passionate about, so that people can see that this is doable. You know, whether you've got tons of kids at home, or you have a back problem, or you've got, you know, problems with amputation, whatever's going on in your life, you can be successful at improving your diet, improving your lifestyle, and just use different tips. Definitely get in, talk to your doctor if you have questions about, you know, what's my vitamin D level supposed to look like? What's my calcium level supposed to look like? And I guarantee you that you'll feel healthier after you have these conversations and start increasing your fresh fruits and vegetables.
I love that. You're just so, I'm already vegan, but you've inspired me to go. I can tell you, you must be amazing with your patients. Dina's saying, with all your other talents, do you also sing?
You know, only when we're in the West African dance class and we have to sing one of the songs to go. So when you dance West African dance, you play the drum, you sing, and you dance. Like sometimes you have to do all three at the same time. But I don't sing professionally. I'm definitely not, you know, one of the pop stars that's out there.
Would we be able to find any of your dance performances online?
Yes. I've danced with multiple troupes. So on the Traditional Music Society, that's one that I danced with them in medical school. That's actually when I started dancing, was in medical school. And I danced when I was pregnant too. There's a really lovely clip of me dancing, and in the front row, there's like a lady like, oh my gosh, when I turn around, so I do this little backwards and I turn around and you see this big old belly, and she's like, as I was pregnant with my third son when I did that performance. So if you go online, Traditional Music Society, they have a YouTube page that shows that clip of me dancing, and the boys are drumming. And then with the company I dance with here in Charlotte, they're called Shea Movement. And online, they have different clips of us dancing. And then on my website, I'll likely add some clips of me dancing.
No, I don't think I have your website, because I put things in the show notes, but I don't think it included a website.
Yeah, so that's the one that's supposed to be going live next week.
Okay, make sure you tell me so that I can update the link. So Traditional Music Society.
Traditional Music Society, TMS.
Okay,
yes, that's the one I have the most videos with, I believe. And I post things on my Instagram page like crazy. Kizumba is the one I'm doing now. Have you heard of Kizumba?
No, I'm going to check it out for sure. And I'm going to put a link to you. I pulled up your Instagram. I'll put a link to that as well. And we have so many wonderful comments about you. I wish she could be my doctor. I'm so glad to hear more physicians really know about using food as medicine. Thank you, Dr. Barnes, says Gwendolyn. Boy, you you are the Energizer Bunny. That is true.
Yes. I'm thankful. It's been something that has helped me, the eating habits, and then getting good sleep too. I definitely wasn't getting good sleep in medical school and residency. We were on call, we had the pager, then I kept getting pregnant. So it just kind of made it so that I didn't get a lot of good sleep, but I try to make sure I get in at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep a night. That doesn't always work, but I try. And between that and drinking lots of water and then doing meditation and yoga, I incorporate all of those things, because like we were talking about here, it's about a lifestyle that you're trying to do and not just changing your habits up for a short period of time. And that's something that I think some people may not quite understand when it comes to changing your dietary habits up. It can't be a diet that you say, I'm gonna start on day 1, and then by day 30, I'll look the way I want to look. I'll get into that wedding dress, and then I can just go back to what I was doing before.
No,
Like, yeah, it doesn't work that way.
absolutely. Well, it's just been a pleasure getting to know you. And seriously, come back for a dance zucchini flute episode.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Oh.
Thank you to all your viewers for tuning in. And I encourage them to, stay focused, stay positive about this journey, make clear, very practical and easy to follow changes in their life, and this incorporate a team, talk to their doctor, talk to their counselors, and try and make a good effort to stick with any of the changes that they've already put in place.
Well said. Thank you so much, Dr. Barnes. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow at the special time of 2 p.m. Pacific time, when I'll have another wonderful plant-based doctor who's lost close to 100 pounds after seeing forks over knives. He is a cardiologist named Dr. Stephen Loam. Thanks again, Dr. Barnes. You are just delightful.
Thank you so much, Chef AJ. Thank you.